Hello everyone, this is Prasanjit Ghosh and welcome to the Masterful Master. Today we'll be discussing about the history of American literature. Well, the history of American literature stretches across more than 400 years. Now we can better understand the American literature through its major periods. Now the American literature can be divided into the Native American period, followed by the Colonial Period, which started after 1607 and stretched up till 1750. After the colonial period came the Revolutionary Period. The Revolutionary Period started from 1750 and stretched up till 1820. After the Revolutionary Period came the Romantic Period or the Romanticism. Now, Romantic Period started from 1820 and stretched up till 1870. After the Romantic Period came the Realism and Naturalism. Now this movement started from 1870 up till 1910. After the Realism and Naturalism came the Modernist Period, which started from 1910 up till 1945. Then came the Contemporary Period, which started from 1945 up till the present date.
Native American, also known as the American Indians, were the indigenous people of America. Native Americans had literature of their own. They did not use written form of literature and focused on developing oral culture. In 1492, Christopher Columbus discovered the New World, that is America. European colonization of America, which began in 1492, resulted in a decline in Native American population through diseases, warfare, ethnic cleansing, and slavery. During 16th and 17th century, there was lot of migration in America. The people from Europe came and settled in the New World. The 13 colonies, also known as the 13 British colonies or the 13 American colonies, were a group of colonies of Great Britain on the Atlantic coast of America, founded in 17th and early 18th century. The first colony was founded at Jamestown or Virginia in 1607. Many of the people who settled in the New World came to escape the religious persecution. The colonial period is also referred to as Puritanism. Pilgrims and Puritans are the two different religious groups of settlers that came to America. The Puritans in America started a literary movement called the Great Awakening. This is a period when a lot of religious literature was produced by the Puritans. Their literature consisted of sermons, diaries, and personal narratives. John Smith of Jamestown is considered as the first American author. Smith wrote Histories of Virginia. William Bradford is the first historian of America, described in his book History of Plymouth Plantation, the travel of pilgrims from the time they set sail for the New World. Francis Higginson described America's wealth of natural resources in New England's Plantation, which was published in the year 1630. Cotton Mather wrote Magnalia Christi Americana, a massive collection of cultural, supernatural, and religious literature. John Winthrop wrote books on religion, a model of Christian charity. It was a sermon in 1630 delivered by John Winthrop when he was on a ship called Arabella going to Massachusetts Bay Colony. Anne Bradstreet was America's first public poet. Her first collection, The 10th Muse, lately sprung up in America, was widely read in America and England. Jonathan Edwards' notable work is Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. Michael Wigglesworth achieved wide popularity among his contemporaries with his poem The Day of Doom, which was published in the year 1662. A new era began when the United States declared its independence in 1776, and much new writing addressed the country's future. Writers focused on explaining and justifying the American Revolution. This period was inspired by European Enlightenment. Emphasis was on reason as opposed to the faith alone. The colonial fascination with science, nature, freedom, and innovation came through in the writings of the Revolutionary period. Benjamin Franklin was one of the founding fathers of the United States. Franklin was a leading writer, printer, political philosopher, politician, scientist, statesman, and diplomat. He wrote a variety of items that were popular as well as influential. The important works are the Autobiography of Benjamin Franklin and Poor Richard Almanac. John Adams was an American statesman, attorney, diplomat, writer, and founding father who served as the second president of the United States from 1797 to 1801. John Adams exchanged frequent letters with his wife Abigail, and when he was exchanging letters, these letters were published together along with John Adams' diary. In these writings, we can look at America from the point of view of a person who served as the first American ambassador. Thomas Jefferson was the third president of the United States and the writer of the Declaration of Independence. Notes on the State of Virginia is a book written by Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Paine was an English-born American political activist, a philosopher, political theorist, and a revolutionary. Paine's writings influenced future Americans such as Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Edison. Thomas Paine is known for his works The Common Sense and The American Crisis. William Hill Brown wrote the first American novel, The Power of Sympathy, published in the year 1789. Phyllis Wheatley, an African woman enslaved in Boston, wrote the first Afro-American book, Poems on Various Subjects and Religious and Moral, which was published in the year 1773. Olaudah Equinos the Interesting Narrative was among the earliest slave narratives and an argument for abolition. Romanticism is a way of thinking that values the individual over the group, the subjective over the objective, and person's emotional experience over reason. The Romanticism as a worldview took hold in Western Europe in the late 18th century, and American writers embraced it in the early 19th century. Writers celebrated individualism, nature, imagination, creativity, and emotions. Early Romantic authors began the tradition of creating imaginative literature that was distinctly American. Washington Irving has often been called as the father of American literature. Irving published a collection of short stories and essays, the sketch book of Geoffrey Crayon, Gent. It included two of the earliest American short stories, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and The Rip Van Winkle. James Fenimore Cooper's works include Precaution, a Novel, The Spy, and Leather Stocking Tales. William Cullen Bryant wrote Thanatopsis and To a Waterfowl. Fireside poets were the most romantic poets of the time. These poets were read in the home by fireside because their poetry contained strong family values and patriotism. The fireside poets were Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, Oliver Wendell Holmes, James Russell Lowell, and John Greenleaf Whittier. Transcendentalism came to America from Europe. The transcendentalists believed that society, including organized religion, was killing the individual pure soul. To a transcendentalist, people in nature were inherently good. They believed in utopian society where each person embraces their individual strength and contributes to the betterment of the community. Ralph Waldo Emerson was the main leader of the Transcendentalist movement. Some of his works are Nature, The American Scholar, Oversoul, Self-Reliance, Brahma, and The Conduct of Life. Henry David Thoreau was a transcendentalist just like Emerson, and also referred to as an anarchist, one who believes in no laws. His works include Civil Obedience and Walden. Dark Romanticism, also known as Gothic or Anti-Transcendentalism, is a literary subgenre that emerged from transcendental philosophical movement popular in the 19th century America. Belief was that man's nature is inherently evil. Belief that whatever is wrong with society, sin, pain, evil, has to be fixed by fixing the individual man first. There was use of supernatural elements, dark landscapes, and depressed characters. Some of the dark romantic writers were Nathaniel Hawthorne, Herman Melville, and Edgar Allan Poe.
That's it for the part 1 of the history of American literature. In part 2 of the history of American literature, we'll be covering the rest of the periods. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much and stay safe.